The Division Hunted, the third and final novel in the Operation Crossroads saga, due to be released on January 2nd for the ebook, January 2nd for the US paperback, and March 28th for the UK paperback. As I said, this is the last installment for the Operation Crossroads trilogy, and my god, Thomas Parrott ended it with a bang. But like anything, to get the maximum out of it, I would highly suggest reading Recruited and Compromised before picking this one up. They do a fantastic job for setting the scene of what is playing out in Hunted. My intention is to keep this as spoiler-free as possible regarding this novel. However, if you are planning to read the earlier books and haven't gotten around to it yet, I would suggest closing this video now, as I'll be touching on these a little to help build the setting. I'll have a link to my reviews of the previous two novels in the description. As a bit of a recap on where the Division Compromised took us, after their previous success over the Romas, it isn't long before Myra and her cell are made aware of a group of environmental extremists who are dead set on helping the world repair. Their first targets, Texan oil refineries. They want to see a world free from fossil fuels, the fuels that are also helping the truckies supply the various settlements of survivors with food and supplies. After being dispatched, they'd also learn of a new private military company who are acting as the saviors, but also the overlords of these vulnerable communities. With very different goals in mind, these new factions are a time bomb waiting to explode, and the agents are caught right in the middle of it. By the end of the book, Myra and her cell are caught up in a firefight on an old battleship against a group of rogue agents. On board, they also had a huge stockpile of Keena's Eclipse virus. Myra would go on to sacrifice herself in order to sink the ship and bury the Eclipse virus. Compromise ends with Myra waking up in a hospital. Her body was badly beaten and shot up. However, she is very much alive. But who saved her? The Division Hunted begins with Myra Canhigh on the run. She is flagged as rogue and has no idea that her cell is still alive. Brenda Wells, the unofficial cell leader and the one responsible for recruiting Myra, would eventually learn that she is still alive. She refuses to believe that Myra has gone rogue, and against the recommendations of her colleagues, she finds and assembles a team to track her down and learn the truth. They would find themselves fighting through various obstacles in the blistering heat of the American Southwest, a lot of which is pointing them in the direction of irrefutable evidence, saying that there is far more to the story that could be seen from the outside. Myra's proven technological prowess has had her become a focus of concern for all sides of the conflict, so it's of the greatest concern that she is stopped. On top of this, she's been stalked and, well, hunted by an unknown and deadly assailant. The story of Hunted leads in directly after the epilogue from Compromised, where Myra is essentially brought back from the dead and is in a Department of Homeland Security facility receiving some of the best care and rehabilitation available. So how did she suddenly find herself on the run? Honestly, that's probably all I can say on the plot without spoiling anything. The first thing I noticed when starting the book is the pace. There was no long build-up and setting of the scene, it was just go, go, go from the very beginning. It's not that the scene wasn't being built though, it was just doing it in a way that placed just as much importance on the severe urgency and panic of the situation playing out. The story is being told from different perspectives, crossing over to different times and different characters throughout. This is an awesome way to fill the gaps when you start the story from halfway through, but it also runs the risk of frustrating the audience by making them have to wait too long to come back to the story arc they may have been enjoying. But I'm happy to say that this certainly wasn't the case with Hunted. In fact, I think my poor heart actually needed it. I was getting so invested into some scenes, I was actually happy for the opportunity to reset my heart rate when crossing back over to different characters. On top of this, the gaps weren't too long, and by the second half of the book, the different story arcs rapidly began to converge with each other. I said it before with the other two, and it's the same deal with Hunted, just maybe more so. If you are a true fan of the story surrounding this franchise, you need to get this book. There are some things that novels can do that the story within the game cannot. Video games need to ensure quality of life and a platform that is fun to play. Is it realistic that I can carry 150 weapons on my character at any one time? No. But how frustrating would it be to run back to the safe house every time I needed to swap? Thomas's work provides in-depth detail about what it's really like to be a Division agent. They aren't the superheroes they can sometimes appear to be in the game. Most have been killed, and the ones we follow get shot up and absolutely beaten to hell and back. SHD tech is a finite resource. It isn't just respawning on their backpacks every 30 seconds. They need to pick and choose the ideal time to use it. Their ammo, food, water, and finding a place they can safely rest is a concern for them at all times. Thomas has done an amazing job showing how exceptionally difficult it is for the agents and how grim their lives really are. One detail I particularly liked was around a hunter scene. I don't think this is a spoiler, I've seen a lot of people talking about this online, plus it's on the cover art. We all love the hunters, but they have never felt so damn brutal as they do after finishing this book. There was even some cool speculation around their armor and gear, which I thought was a nice touch. Another thing that I particularly like about Hunted is that it's caught up with the current timeline in the game. So we're hearing about a lot of things that have just happened, except from a different perspective. We're seeing that some things weren't quite as straightforward as we assumed, and that there has been a huge amount of work and failures behind the scenes. I especially like the tie-ins with certain characters, and the information we've slowly been collecting through the Descent comms in-game. Thomas, as a writer, has really managed to embed himself into our world, the Division universe, and bring to light detail that we've never seen before. While I think the first two novels were fantastic in their own right, they spent a little bit of time building up to this book, and I'm going to go ahead and say that this is the best one yet, and the perfect end to the trilogy. In fact, Ubisoft, with Division 3 having now been announced, I think you need to lock Thomas in for a few more books. Anyway, thank you very much to Aconite for the review copy of the book. Apologies it took me so long to get to it. Another thank you to Lauren Stone for, in her words, being the psychopath who was able to facilitate this alongside her other narrative work in-game. And last but certainly not least, thank you very much to Thomas Parrott. We're a picky bunch. You delved into our world. Some of us have been following it for 8 years plus, and we would have been the first ones to pick holes in it if you hadn't hit the mark. But fortunately for us, you have delivered nothing but gold. I really do hope to see more Division from you in the future. For everyone else, thank you very much for watching, and I'll have links for all 3 of the novels in the description. Cheers!